Lawin Media Network,
bringing to you the most relevant content across all platforms.
business, legal, politics, health, lifestyle, and entertainment.
Your source for all the news and updates in the greater Houston community from Texas and all over the world.
Get informed and empowered with Lawin Media Network.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Season 2 of Pink Table Talk. I'm your host, Dr. 𝘾𝙧𝙧𝙡. I am a doctorally prepared nurse, educator, mentor, mother, and domestic violence survivor and advocate. Tonight, I bring to you our first episode for Season 2. This show is about love, empowerment, self-awareness, and encouragement, and we love to bring you inspiring stories with our amazing guests. Last year, we had a wonderful, wonderful Season 1, and we had such amazing guest speakers. We had amazing stories. We had amazing conversations, and it was just such a fun time that we had bringing you all those special guests. So this season, we're going to be bringing you more important and inspiring stories, more stories to encourage you to get out there and to live your best life. This show came to me after I had my own journey of self-healing, self-improvement, and empowerment. I went through lots of support groups, read a lot of self-help books, and I also even went on my own personal journey with therapy and mentors. And after that journey, I said to myself, I gained so much knowledge, so why not share all of this knowledge with the world? I'm a big believer in giving back and paying it forward. And I felt that I learned so much in my journey that I want others to learn and to go on their own journeys to self-empowerment, self-improvement, and self-discovery. So this show is produced by Lawin Media Network. It is available on over 15 different podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and Google. As well, you can catch our show live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time or 8 o'clock for all my family and friends and people on the East Coast. So tonight we are going to go over Season 1. We're going to show you some important clips, from some of our best episodes. But before we do, I want to talk to you all about a very important topic. As you all know, this is now October. October is known as Pink October in honor of breast cancer awareness. So this is important time for women to do, to be reminded to do their mammograms and monthly breast self-exams. So there is the National Breast Cancer Foundation. On this website here, you can find many resources. So you can, educate yourself on breast cancer, so you can become more aware, and so that you can be empowered and proactive in your own health journey. Breast cancer affects many women. This year alone, over 360,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. But we do have hope. Researchers and physicians have been working hard on advancements, especially in early detection. There are more methods now, and we continue to support these different methods and continue to support education, especially in our communities, especially in our underserved communities, so that people can be aware and continue to do healthy activities to promote their health. Like I said, you should get your mammogram if you have a family history of breast cancer, or if you're over the age of 35. As well, you should perform monthly breast self-exams for women of all ages, including teenagers. So please visit this beautiful and well-done website to learn more information on how you can be prepared and educated on breast cancer and breast cancer awareness. Okay. So like I said to you all, this show, it's about self-improvement, inspiring stories, and we've had so many wonderful guests in our first season, including one of our special guests was my Lawin Media sister, MJ. She's actually how I got connected with this network to do my own show. She and I used to work together, and she saw me one day and we just had a normal conversation. And she was like, you have to be on my show. She has her own show called Be Bold, Why Not? And that's on Monday nights at 7. And she said, you have such an inspiring story, so I want to have you on my show. So I agreed to be on her show during Women's History Month earlier this year. And from there, I was given the opportunity to create my own show. And it's just been such a wonderful honor to be able to bring to you, just some of my ideas, some of the wonderful people that I have met along the way in my journey, whether that was professionally or whether that was through my own self-healing journey. I met some wonderful therapists, some wonderful counselors, coaches, just really, truly amazing people who are doing amazing things. My hope is that with this information and hearing these stories, that you guys can too begin to live a more inspired life, a healthier life, and be able to overcome any challenges that you may have. It's always my hope that people can overcome challenges and not let them be the end of their story. We all have a journey that we must take in life, and that journey shouldn't end with defeat. We should be able to come through those hardships a better, stronger person, and we should be able to use that knowledge to improve ourselves and those around us. We are each given an amazing journey and a story so that we can help others. We each have amazing gifts and talents so that we can be able to improve the world and leave behind a wonderful legacy. Every week we broadcast live. So if you want to chat with our audience or ask questions to our guest, please watch us live and use our chat feature so that you can ask us questions or ask the professionals and our guest speakers any questions. Also, if you have any topics of interest, please do share those topics. If there's any show ideas that you would like to hear for this upcoming season, please send in those ideas. We'd love to hear from you. I know I'm always looking for those unique stories out there. So if you know any wonderful, unique stories, please let us know so that we can broadcast it to the world. I believe nobody should go through any struggle without us being able to share it with the world, because that's what inspires us, is those everyday stories with everyday people. So right now, we're going to go ahead and take our first break of the evening. And when we come back, we're going to go ahead and take a look back at season 1 of Pink Table Talk. So stay tuned, everybody, and thank you for watching.
Are you ready for engaging conversations on education, teaching strategies, trends in the classroom?
Tune in to Teacher Talk, live 𝘾𝙖𝙧𝙡𝙀 with your hosts, Teacher Cora and Dr. Claire.
In each episode, we'll dive into meaningful discussions, share insights, and connect with fellow educators.
Don't miss out on the fun and camaraderie. Grab your coffee and join us for some lively 𝘾𝙖𝙧𝙡𝙀. Every Saturday, 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Philippines.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Pink Table Talk. I'm your host, Dr. 𝘾𝙧𝙧𝙡. Thank you all for watching live. And if you don't catch the show live, you can catch it later on through our YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, or on one of our 15 podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or Google. So tonight we're doing a recap of season 1 of Pink Table Talk. We had a very excellent season. It was so inspiring. We got a lot of viewers who were just really empowered and motivated from our speakers. We got a lot of really great feedback. So we're back bringing you guys season 2. And season 2 is going to be better. We're going to have some more speakers for you guys, some really amazing stories, and full of lots of empowerment and improvement for you. One of our most talked about speakers from last season was Coach D. Coach D came and talked to us about the narcissistic abuse cycle. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that clip from that episode.
Is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. You are placed on a pedestal, right? This is men and women. You are placed on a pedestal because narcissists can be men or women, right? The second phase typically, and the reason why they're treating you so well is because they just think you're perfect. They truly think that you're a perfect person for them. You look perfect, you act perfect, you sound perfect, you know, they will try to mirror you though during this phase. So you may even think that they like the same things that you like. You know, they will intentionally, act as though they like everything about you, everything that you like, including the food, your style of dress, whatever. They're going to mirror everything, because they want to woo you and pull you in. The second phase of the abuse cycle is typically when something happens where maybe you criticize them, maybe you disagree with them, maybe you're, not really feeling in sync with them, as you once did. And so what happens is the second phase is called the devaluation. This is the phase of the relationship where it's very painful, because this is where you are devalued. This is where the vile comments, are told to you. This is where the name calling begins. This is where any of your past secrets that you've shared, now your traumas, now they get thrown in your face, your insecurities. This is where they get brought up. And you're basically treated in a very, very condescending way, right? And the reason is because the narcissistic person is always looking to establish control in the relationship. So when you don't go along with them, you disagree with them, you criticize them, they feel like they're losing their control. And so this is one of the ways that they seek to reestablish it. If they are not successful, we go to phase 3, which is the discard. And this is the phase that most people remember the most. And the abuse cycle is when that narcissistic person shuts off all communication. They ghost you, they disappear, they block you everywhere, they're not talking to you, they're not responding to calls, text messages, nothing. It's like they fell off the face of the earth. And so it even feels like silent treatment. If we are under the same roof, it's like silent treatment. And basically the design behind the third phase, the discard, is to punish you because you're not complying with what they want. You're not getting back in order and understanding, that they are in charge, that, they control the power in the relationship, and you're not moving to that subordinate or submissive place, right? So they get angry. So that's the point of the discard. The last phase, which is the Hoover phase, which is named after vacuum cleaner Hoover, is basically to circle back in a relationship, because now that you've been discarded and you're undergoing silent treatment and you've been punished, the narcissistic person realizes that they're missing something. All narcissistic people are in transactional relationships for some that you provide to them, right? They're not in emotionally charged, connected relationships. They're in transactional relationships. So if you've been discarded, they're probably realizing that they're missing something that you provide. And so in order to get it back, now it's time to Hoover you. It's time to be a little nice again, calm, relax, all the discard, all the blocks. You've been unblocked now. Now we're ready to go. Open the door, for you to come back. And that's the Hoover phase, because they're missing something, and what happens is it goes right back to love bombing again, and you repeat the same cycle over and over again. So that's the abuse cycle.
Thank you. That was such a great description of that cycle. And I can definitely see the correlation, similarities between addiction, like you said. You described how the love bombing, they get that high, and then it just keeps cycling. They get it hooked onto the person and that affection, and they just keep wanting more. We have a question from our audience.
Join us for a captivating new series where Lawin sits down with the trailblazers of the music and entertainment world. Discover the stories behind the faces and voices that shape our culture and community.
Welcome back. That was an amazing clip from season 1 on the episode featuring Coach D. Coach D helps thousands of people each week through her online coaching business, as well as through her support groups that she hosts a few times per week. Coach D is a very educated and knowledgeable woman. She talks a lot about narcissistic abuse patterns, as well as how people can get out of those narcissistic abusive patterns and cycles, whether that could be in a relationship or in a family dynamic. So we also had provided her information during that episode. If you do find yourself to be in a narcissistic abusive situation, you can reach out to her to receive some guidance and some counseling to get some help. It's also important to reach out if you are just getting out of a narcissistic abusive cycle, so that way you can learn how to recover, recharge, and to heal after a narcissistic abusive situation. It could take years for a person to truly get back to themselves after dealing with somebody who suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. If it was through your family dynamics, it could take even longer. But there is hope, and there is help, and there is healing. So definitely reach out to her if you find yourself in either of those situations. So for the next clip that we are going to show, we had an episode with Christina Stuller, and she talked to us about love addiction and healthy attachment styles. So let's take a look at our clip with Christina Stuller. Wanting to have a buddy or somebody with you when you go out or go places. So my next question for you, Christina, is what is love addiction, and how is that related to codependency?
So love addiction is basically a new term. I want to say it's probably been around for about 10 years or so, and some people are not familiar with it. I define it, and this is just the way that I do, I define it as kind of like the deeper, the darker side of codependency. So it's in terms of where like love becomes an obsession and things like that. And it's not saying that everything is going to be like a true crime scene or anything. It's just that we don't realize, like we start fantasizing, we start thinking about like our lives with this person, and then we kind of like drift away from our own reality and our own self, being. It's the contributing factor, though, is generally with codependency because of that low self-esteem. And it does also go into where we sacrifice ourselves for other people. But it's much darker than that. But maybe dark isn't even the right term to use, but it just goes deeper than that. So I will be honest. I always say I did not know I was codependent until I was codependent. And then I was very well versed on reactive abuse. And that generally turned into a form of love addiction because it got to the point of this isn't going to, you know what I mean? It was like I had to be with this person. And the way that I share my story from back then is way different than I share it now. And it just shows how much growth has really come from it, because before there was a lot of emotion to it. And I really did think that I would never be able to survive without this person, and that this person could not survive without me. And you give up friends, family, careers, you lose a lot. So there was definitely a lot of loss, a lot of healing, and a lot of like rebuilding back up. But there's absolutely nothing, as long as you realize that something is not right, and it's not based on everything, but sometimes it's the people. But we do have to accept accountability as opposed to responsibility, because there are two people in the relationship. And then sometimes I did realize that I now am putting the pieces together, that I am a common denominator in a lot of issues. And I just didn't realize until I actually ended up in one particular relationship, because I never had, relationships where it was, me sacrificing and giving, and I never had that. And then I suffered from a lot of trauma and ended up just ran into the arms of one. And it was about 8 years before I could get out. So it definitely is something that takes over in a way, but it goes by almost like societal standards in a term, because we believe in love at first sight. We watch movies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Unfortunately, that doesn't exist. So we kind of have this like self-fulfilling prophecy in a way of how love should be. So then like we'll reenact it, and it's just not, it's not there. So yeah,
Wow.
it's interesting.
Yes, and it's funny because I had never even thought of that term until I saw, I think you had a room a few months back, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Especially I had been in a lot of the support groups, and even looking back at my own relationships. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense, that we can actually be addicted to love, that feeling of being in love and being with somebody and always wanting to be around them. And, and it's so easy to get sucked in, like you were talking about, and to kind of go too deep. And I can definitely relate to that. I've seen myself there sometimes where I'm like, I want to see what they're doing. I want to be with them all the time. And, you start forgetting about everything else, and
Absolutely. It feels good. It feels good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You get addicted to the, the high, what is it? I don't know what's the love hormone, oxytocin, and, you crave
and
that.
it is almost like the love bomb. I always joke around, I say the love bombing and the courting, those are like the best, like, of course. And then that's when we feel that that's what it is all the time, and so we become almost angry and resentful, and we'll act out, and it's just things when really it's our own personal needs not being met. And I honestly thought, I'll be honest, needs were food, clothing, and shelter, and they are. It goes way, way deeper into that. Just things that we will and will not put up with. And back to the boundaries, I
Yes.
didn't have the boundaries that I thought I had. So
Yes, that's so true. And I see how it ties back into, having that lack of boundaries. Like you said, that enmeshment. So that love addiction, codependency, the person, they don't see themselves as separate. They kind of see themselves as one in that relationship, like they're one, they're one person. So, wow, very profound. My next question for you is, what are some of the attachment styles that are associated with love addiction and codependency?
So there's 4 attachment styles. The names have updated a little bit, but I just go by, secure, anxious, preoccupied, fearful, avoidant, and then dismissive, avoidant. So I would say that the codependency aspect is mainly towards the fearful. Actually, let's say all 3 of them, aside from the secure. I think even secure could kind of form into that in some shape or form. But in all actuality, the fearful, avoidant is very lucky. They get both of them. They can lean towards anxious, preoccupied, and they can lean towards dismissive, avoidant. And so it's the fear of abandonment. So basically, we're born with an innate fear of abandonment, because we have to survive on our caregivers, or we rely on our caregivers for survival. But then that can grow. And really, an attachment style doesn't necessarily come about until you become attached to somebody. And so it's not something that you'll know of where you're at until you're in a relationship and that attachment really grows. So I found out that definitely I was fearful avoidant, and no longer fearful avoidant, but it was, the fear of abandonment. And I was very hot and cold, because it was these inner core wounds of saying, well, you're just going to leave anyways, and I'm difficult to date. And it's all these things that, they are negative self-talk words, but it's how we feel. But we don't ever really have the information to back it up. And then when we look at our past and see, well, our caregivers left, like parents, this and that, and it's this trend that we begin to think it's us. And really, everything that happened to us was never because of us, not once.
Oh, that's Yeah, that was such an amazing episode with Christina Stuller. She is another one of those heavy hitter professionals who's done a lot of research in the area on love and relationships. And she came and shared with us such amazing amount of knowledge on love, codependency, and healthy attachments. She also has a website where you can go and seek advice or counseling. If you are somebody that struggles with finding healthy relationships, finding love, or if you're somebody that struggles with codependency and who also suffers from maybe fearful or avoidant or anxious attachment style, she offers tons of resources. She also has books on Amazon, including workbooks and journals. She loves journals, and through those journals and workbooks, you can actually work through those issues, such as codependency or unhealthy attachment styles. Christina also hosts support groups and does one-on-one counseling each week. She has helped thousands of people through her work and through her websites, and help people have found healthy relationships and healthy attachments. I love that episode. It's one of my favorites. I joked with her about cuffing season coming up, and how people can find healthy love during cuffing season when we tend to just choose anybody, during this time of year because we want someone for the holidays and, for all the pageantry of it all. So she was just so helpful, and it was just such a great episode. So I really enjoyed it, and I really loved having her on the show. Right now, we're going to go ahead into our second commercial break of the evening, but stay tuned. We're going to be back with Pink Table Talk and more from Season 1. Thank you.
Join us for a captivating new series where Lawin sits down with the trailblazers of the music and entertainment world. Discover the stories behind the faces and voices that shape our culture and community.
We will bring you exclusive interviews with industry legends and rising stars. Behind the scenes insights and get a peek into the creative processes and personal journeys. Artists and performers and their upcoming shows and events.
Stay tuned for more updates and sneak peeks. Follow us on social media and subscribe to our channel.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Pink Table Talk. Tonight is our first episode of Season 2. We are going to be bringing to you guys this upcoming season more inspiring speakers and stories, so that you guys can hit the road and on your own journey for self-improvement and self-healing and self-discovery. Tonight, we've been recapping some of our favorite speakers from Season 1, and just going over those awesome information and awesome lessons that they have given us during that first season. One of our most touching stories from last season came from a young lady who I have helped through an organization that we are both a part of. This young woman has gone through immeasurable sufferings and just through just so much with her journey and with her daughter and with her family. We had Star Davis on, And her story is just so inspiring and so touching. And she went through true heartbreak, but she's come out on the other side of it, to a happier and healthier her and for her family. So let's take a look at our clip from Star Davis. Star, last week we featured Coach D, and Coach D, she talked to us about the narcissistic abuse cycle and post-separation abuse. Through meeting you, through our connection with Safe Families for Children, I also know that you survived a very toxic and abusive relationship with someone who is most likely a malignant narcissist. Can you please tell the audience about your experience when you left your abuser?
Yeah, so I was pregnant during the pandemic, the actual start. So I'm talking March 2020. I conceived.
Oh boy.
So my daughter was born December 2020, right at the end of the year. And I left my abuser when she was about a month and a half. So this was February 2021.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that day because there was a big freeze in Houston.
Oh, yeah, the infamous freeze.
And I remember thinking, why is everyone's cars smashing into each other? Like, what's the big deal? Because I'm from Ohio and I lived in New York, so I'm used to seeing folks know how to drive snow. I had a moment where I understood this is either God intervening because I had no other way to treat it. Or this is the breaking point where something's going to happen. And both things were happening at the same time. It was my breaking point in that relationship where I was understanding the baby wasn't going to stop the abuse. Her birth was not going to protect me. The innocence of having a newborn child in the house was not going to protect me. And it wasn't protecting me. I was actually now receiving it worse than I was during my pregnancy. And I think it was because I was regaining myself.
Yes,
And
that part.
I was mobile. I'm walking around. I don't need so much help and so much assistance. I'm returning to work. I had also just won a very large fellowship, PEN America. Things were happening for me. So I'm thinking of Rihanna doing that halftime Super Bowl show. And someone on TikTok posted about the power of a pregnant woman, kind of having that glory moment where because she's having a baby, she can have it all. And I think that was happening to me unknowingly. And I was also trying to figure out what was going on. But I was very blessed. And it was triggering that person. It was making the abuse worse. So when I left, it was in the middle of that storm. And, you know, it was between me and my things and my child. And I chose my child that day. And I left with the clothes on our backs. I left with a finished apartment and all of my possessions because he came in with nothing. So the apartment furnishings down to everything on the wall and the forks and spoons and the drawers were mine. But I left everything behind and I just took that diaper bag, my baby, and my purse with just personal documents, and I left. And it was a very bold and scary move, but it was the best move I've ever made in my life. And his response to that was, of course, to immediately try to reach out. He called the police, and he actually reported that we were both missing. And
Wow.
my youngest sister actually received a call from the police in the middle of the night, and they asked if she knew where we were, and she says, yeah, they're fine. But I knew it was the start of him kind of knowing the system better than I did, because what he was doing and what I was unaware he was doing was he was starting a paper trail.
Oh, wow.
He was starting a paper trail. He was starting to draft this iconic story that he would get to present in front of the court that would, of course, make him the victim and me the villain. And I had no idea that is what was happening.
Wow, that's something, you know. Yes. And, you know, Coach D said that these people are very deceiving, but they're smart. And she said they know and they're paying attention, and that we often underestimate just how smart they are, because they'll play dumb. They'll play like, they don't know anything that's going on, but they know systems and they know how to play the systems well. So, yes.
And I was at a disadvantage because not only did I just have a baby, but I was experiencing postpartum depression, and I was in fear. And fear doesn't just leave you when you had a child. you know, fear was all over me. I put it on every day. And I feel bad to admit this, but there were women and men in my life who were giving me excuses and also encouraging me to embrace that fear. There were women in my life who were telling me, oh, we've all had a crazy baby daddy. We've all been there. It's all right. And it was just like, oh, okay. So now I'm kind of getting a pass to walk through life fearful and be okay with it, because I've had 10 other women tell me, oh, we've all been there. It's all right.
Yes. It's because so that was such an amazing and touching story. Star has gone through so much trauma. After she had left her abuser, he had fought her for custody, and he had their child for over a year while he was on the run. She was reunited with her daughter in April of this year. As you saw in the clip, her daughter was warmingly embracing her during the entire episode. So it's wonderful that Star is reunited with 𝘾𝙧𝙧𝙚, and the father, he is in jail at this time. Star is doing wonderful right now. At this moment, she is living a happy and healthy life with her daughter. And she is building a wonderful community of friendships and family here in the Houston area. So that was one of my favorite episodes. It's so amazing when you see people go through such heartbreaking trauma. I don't know how I would have felt without my babies for over a year, but she went through it. And she pulled through, and now she's on the other side of that, living a happier, healthier life. If you find yourself in a domestically abusive situation, please reach out. There are resources online. There are hotlines. There are also text lines and chats that you can reach out to for help. Also, speak up to your family and friends. The number one way abusers keep their victims is through silence. So please, please, please speak up. The abuse never gets better. It only will get worse. So please reach out to help if you are in that situation right now. So before we get into our last clip of the evening, we're going to take our last commercial break. So stay tuned, and I'll see you all back after the break.
In a world filled with fleeting moments, there's beauty waiting to be captured. My name is Christian, and I specialize in immortalizing your most precious memories, from elegant weddings to vibrant events and timeless portraits. I'm here to make every moment unforgettable. Let me tell your story through the lens. Contact me today and let's create magic together.
In a world cluttered with information, where truth is power, Law and Weekly News stands apart.
We delve deeper, uncover facts, and bring stories to light. From political showdowns and economic triumphs to the pulse of the street and the heart of the community.
We capture the moments that define us, stories that challenge, inspire, and transform.
Tune in live Sundays 8 a.m. Central Standard Time and Sundays 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Thank you guys for watching Pink Table Talk. The show is produced by Lawin Media Network, and you can catch us live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central or 8 o'clock on Eastern Time for all of our people on the East Coast. We've had a wonderful season 1, and now we're beginning our season 2 journey. This season, we're going to be bringing to you guys lots more information and knowledge so that you can begin your own self-help and healing journey. Tonight, we've been recapping on some of our most talked about guests from last season. One of those was Dr. Toby Brooks, who talked to us about faith in the midst of challenges. Dr. Toby Brooks has his own podcast called Becoming Undone, where he features people who have come up through unconventional ways. They have suffered through hardships or different obstacles in life, and they've overcome those obstacles to achieve success. Dr. Toby Brooks was on our show and talked about his own struggles, whether it was with his career, mental health, or through his own family life. So he brought to us a lot of great information, and he talked to us about how to have faith and to persevere. So let's take a look at our clip with Dr. Toby Brooks. So awesome, and it's so amazing, and it's kind of the inspiration for my show as well. I've had a lot of guests here who have overcome some severe obstacles in their life, whether it was personal, health, relational, or legal battles. But somehow they've made it through and come out on the other end better and giving back. So they're trying to pay it forward. So, I always love hearing those type of stories and seeing what people do with that. It's not just going through a hardship, but it's actually making something better to come out of it. So it's so amazing that we share that.
Absolutely.
Yes. So looking back at your experiences with being athletic trainer, seeing those injuries, seeing those, those wins as well. Is there any particular experience that stands out to you the most over those years?
Yeah, I share this story frequently. Prior to here, I worked at a state institution, and I taught a course in kind of psychosocial aspects of injury, kind of the mental health and sports psychology side of things. And I had a student athlete who was an incredibly high achieving, she was an alternate for the Olympic team as a gymnast, and just missed out on making the Olympic team. She was a 4.0 pre-med student. She actually went on and became an orthopedic surgeon. But when I encountered her, she was, I can't describe her as any other way than just sad. She seemed to be, from the outsider's perspective looking in, an incredible achiever, world class, literally, there are hundreds of thousands of little girls that aspire to be Olympic gymnasts. And at that time, 7 of them got to do it, and she was 8th. And just the heartbreak from falling just short haunted her into her college and later her adulthood. And so, like I said, a 4.0 pre-med student at Arizona, went on to become an orthopedic surgeon, and sadly, she took her life. She was so haunted by what she wasn't or how she fell short at the age of 14 that she couldn't shake it. And so with that, I mean, as tragic as that is, it was really a wake-up call for me, because it's easy to look at someone's resume or their vita and say, this person has it all together. You know, on paper, she was world-class in everything she had ever tried to do. But I distinctly remember she had lots of injuries. She was tough as nails, one of the toughest athletes I ever worked with, had a debilitating back injury, spondylolisthesis, but was still competing as a gymnast. And so we worked together daily. And one day I was just trying to, forge a patient clinician relationship with her, have a conversation. And I said, hey, your name, stated her by name, said, how would you describe yourself in one word? And without hesitation, she said, failure.
Oh, wow.
Heavens, if you're a failure, what are the rest of us,
Yeah.
So it was jarring as a clinician to hear someone who is that accomplished view themselves through that lens. And it really made me realize that I can't make assumptions about my patients. I can't make assumptions about my students. I can't make assumptions about my colleagues. I really need to check in with them. And just because the world would say they're high achievers, they might not necessarily share that sentiment.
Yes. Wow. Wow. That's such a touching. Yeah, that was such an amazing episode with Dr. Toby Brooks. He gave us an interesting perspective on high achievers. Oftentimes, we don't think that high achievers may suffer from mental health issues such as depression or anxiety, or even unalive themselves. We often think high achievers are happy. So he really shed an important spotlight on the fact that people who have achieved a lot in life, people who are highly successful, still can fall prey to suffering from mental health struggles. During that episode, he promoted people seeking counseling and therapy. He even mentioned that he actually walks his students to their counseling sessions for his students that are on campus where he teaches as a professor. I thought that was just so touching, and that added that one extra step in human kindness. It's one thing to just suggest someone seek help or suggest somebody go to counseling, but he actually holds their hand and walks with them and supports them and stands by them through that. So I'm just so happy that we were able to recap on some of our favorite episodes from season 1. I am so delighted to be able to bring to you guys another exciting season. I'm looking forward to another 13 wonderful weeks with you wonderful audience members. Please watch live each Wednesday at 7 o'clock so that you can chat, interact with us, and ask any questions to our professional guest speakers, and to just have a wonderful time to learn more about yourself and how to be a better human and to be able to contribute to your community. So thank you all for watching tonight. Please come back next week. And remember, on Wednesdays, we think pink. And remember to link in pink with us on Wednesdays. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.